and I've hit basically the bottom of my stomach and my balls on the headlight.
Now I gotta ride or die.
Now, when you're young, I feel like the first mode of transport is always going to be an interesting time in your life. You're going to go down the route of maybe chasing power, chasing looks, chasing speed, chasing how it drives down the road. For me, when I was 16, all my mates had scooters. It was a thing. And to get your CBT and get a scooter was really easy back then. We're talking 30 quid for your CBT, 40 quid for your CBT. Scooters were around £200-300 quid at the time. Petrol, I think it was about £1.70 to fill my scooter up at the time. I took the plunge and bought a Piaggio Zip 50. A friend of mine was selling it at the time. It was dark blue and had an exhaust on it. It sounded like, well, I thought at 16 it sounded cool. Now I listen and think, wow, that's loud and very tinny and just not something I'd probably have now. But at the time, you think you are invincible on this little 50cc scooter. And we used to go out, we used to cruise constantly. Because fuel was cheap then, the idea of you staying up late was fine. You're a bit younger, so the cold wasn't really a thing. I remember, going out in shorts and a hoodie with no gloves on, at the end of summer in the night, and just thinking, yeah, my hands hurt, but this is really cool, so it doesn't matter. We're all down my local seafront. That was like the meeting point for everyone at the time. Everyone's there. All my mates in there, 50cc, 125, scooters, bikes, some geared RS 125s. Bikes to look up to, because we all had very different bikes at the time. I had a Piaggio Zip, my friend had a Vespa, another friend had a 125 Crosser. The migration, they were able to get 125s way before I did, so it was really cool to see that. But you always wanted something a little bit faster. The 50cc scooter was great though. It was a great introduction into me driving, being on the road and going out and enjoying what was the car scene and the motorbike scene at the time. Used to go to motorbike meets on our little scooters, and the bigger bikes were there, and you'd always aspire to have one of these bigger bikes. So yeah, it's a summer's evening. We've all gone out. It's probably, I'd say it's past 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And a couple of people got work in the morning. I had work in the morning, so I thought, do you know what? 11, half 11, that's about right. Say, we'll call it quits. And as we've all come out, all of us at the same time, and we've all come out of the seafront, everybody has turned right. So about 5 or 6 bikes have turned right. I've turned left because I live up the hill on the left. I've come out, said goodbye to all of them, did a little beat, whatever it is. Bearing in mind, and picture this, I have a 30-40 quid helmet on with a tinted visor, so it is up, and it's dark at night. I've got some hand-me-down motorbike gloves on with vents in the fingers, so it was great when you were riding, but when you got anywhere you realised how cold the 2 fingers at the front were, because they had vents in them. The rest didn't, but those had some really cold air going in on the front of a scooter. Now, Piaggio Zip has no sort of fairing on it, in a sense. It has fairing across your knees, but it doesn't have fairings over your hands. So as you're riding, you're pretty much in the elements, in a sense. We've got a black hoodie on, unzipped, and this is the point where I'm going to tell everyone, do not wear a hoodie or shorts on a motorbike. You're stupid. I'm just 16 and dumb is what it is. But yeah, we're in a hoodie, it's unzipped, got a t-shirt underneath, and I have a pair of shorts on. Because of course you do. You'd have a pair of shorts on, wouldn't you? It's the middle of summer, of course you do. Anyway, we're riding along up the hill, and at the time, this is East Steel Road on the Isle of Wight, and the scooter could only do 32 miles an hour in any conditions. And we're coming up the hill, and it is reading 28 at a push, maybe even less. The speedo's out. It's an oldish bike, you know how it is. And I'm coming up, and there is a junction on my left, and I look and I think, yeah, that's fine, there's a school there, keep going. And all I see as I'm cruising along is a blur of white, and I never saw what it actually was later on to be a cat. And it came out, and as it came out, went straight in front of the front wheel. So I've hit it bang on what I believe to be 28 miles an hour at the time. And as this has happened, and I must have hit the cat exactly in the body for it to propel the front of the motorbike up, me up like this, and it must have cleared, because I don't think the back of the bike actually hit the cat. I think it must have, with the impact, shot the cat one way, and as I'm in the air, I've gone, ah, and I'm looking up and I've looked down at the road again, and this is all in a split second. It's come down, and at this point I'm up on the bike, so I am lifted physically off the bike. So the seat is here, my bum's up here, and my body's here. My head is over the front light, and I've come back down, and it is hit the tarmac, and I've hit basically the bottom of my stomach and my balls on the headlight. Now at this point, I don't know what's going on, because my face can only see the front wheel. I'm like, what's going on? And considering I'm still not necessarily powering on, but you're still doing probably 15, 20 mile an hour at this point, you are in a world of, you don't know what's going to happen next. You have no idea what's going to happen next. And as you come down, and I've sort of tried to sway the bike, in theory, thinking as quickly as I could to push myself back up. Now, there was no way I was going to do that. I was so far over the front of the motorbike at the time that what actually happened was I careered to the other side of the road. Thankfully, there was nothing coming. I've careered to the other side of the road, again, still completely over the front of the motorbike, and then pulled the back brake, which was this side, and that has in turn snatched the steering and the handlebars that way, and I've gone into a curb and into a hedge. Still doing probably 15 to 20 miles an hour at this point. That was a real big impact. When I say big impact, the motorbike must have gone to a proper, nearly vertical angle, and I must have been so far up to then when it came down, the handlebar bent this side so badly, there was no way of you understanding where the brake and the throttle and everything was. So you grab that side and it's gone like that. And I've gone into the curb and fallen into a hedge. And I remember just laying there thinking, what just happened? What has happened here? Because you're now staring at the darkness of a hedge. You don't know where you are, what's going on. And I've gone to go up, and I've realised that my stomach and, at this point, my balls are incredible. The pain is incredible. Like, you've never felt anything like it. I've never felt anything since, thankfully. This was easily the most painful I've been in a very long time. It must have hit so hard when I came back down in my private area that I went to get up and couldn't get up, and I then, in theory, got up and pushed myself to the side and laid in the hedge, and all I saw was my scooter upside down, still going blah, 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 blah. Of course, it had an exhaust on it, and it was sat in the road, upside down, near the white line, oddly. So I'd probably up, come down, over the white line, wrong side of the road, over, and then it must have chucked me off and then went round and like that. That's all I can think had happened. At this point, a Land Rover Discovery, brand new it was at the time, it was a Discovery 4. That's how long ago this was. Come down the road. Oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay, but I'm in pain. He's like, where? I was like, my balls really hurt. My balls hurt so much. And he's like, okay, I'm going to get an ambulance. I was like, don't worry about it. It's not that bad. Like, it can't be that bad. I was like, is my scooter okay? And he's like, don't worry about the scooter. I was like, no, mate, listen, I'm 16 years old. I've had a CBT like a few months ago. That is my pride and joy. Like, it's upside down and it looks broken. And he's like, don't worry about the scooter. I was like, mate, the scooter. And he's like, I'll go and turn it off. And he turned it off, put it on its stand. And I just remember it sitting there and me sitting there going, what just happened? Like, what has happened? Anyway, he's like, should I call anyone? Yeah, call my mum and dad. Mum and dad run down. He's been in a crash. Oh, quick, come down. They had a Discovery So an M Reg Discovery at the time. That's how long ago that was. So an M Reg Discovery, green 2-door, what a thing. Cloth seats manual. Whew. And they've come down. Are you all right? Yeah. And by this point, I was walking around. They're only about 3-4 minutes away. I'm walking around. I'm like, yeah, I'm in serious pain. Like everything, my leg hurts. And at this point, I've looked down and I've noticed my knees cut open. Only a little bit. Considering that what we'd just been through, that wasn't too bad. The pain was inside me, though, more than anything. I remember saying, just load the bike up, we're going to go home. I don't need the ambulance, don't need the hospital or anything like that. Don't worry about it. Stupid in hindsight, because the internal damage you might have caused then, you don't know. But thankfully, I'm still here now, so that's fine. And you're stupid and young. It's just how it is. And we get home. My dad unloads a bike. I'll go and sit down, and that's sort of it. And we call it a day. A few days later, I'll go and sort of assess what's actually happened to the motorbike. And at the point when I come out to it, because it was parked on the driveway, I hadn't really seen it since. I had a couple of days off work, sort of, you know, call it quits for a minute. And the handlebars bent down, the front fairing is completely smashed apart, both sides are scraped, because I'm convinced both sides were in the accident, but I don't know how, because both sides had scratches on them. And yeah, what we actually had to do was completely rebuild, basically from the bike, not necessarily up, but all the panels had to be replaced. The handlebars had to be replaced, headlight, clocks, everything had to be replaced, and I actually sprayed it all on my back garden. Thankfully, no lasting problems with that region. I've had a child, so that's fine. But yeah, that is the story of how I had my first motorbike crash and how I genuinely could have lost some balls that day.